How do you source your craftsmen?
This is the thing that I think would make it impossible for someone to start a pewter company today. If you come to our business center, you see a wall of hands of employees who've been there more than 5 years. And employees who've been there more than 40 years have their hands in gold. It's a gilded finish. And the wall is filled with these golden hands, employees who spent their entire careers with us.
Good morning, you're listening to The Breakfast Grille. I'm Shazana Mukhtar. We're taking the opportunity to reflect on the journey of one of Malaysia's most well-known heritage brands, the pewter craftsmaker Royal Selangor. The family-owned company has stood the test of time for over a century, currently led by the fourth generation. But in a fast-changing world that values technology over tradition, what is Royal Selangor doing to stay relevant into the next century? Joining me today to discuss this is Chen Tien Yue, Executive Director of Royal Selangor. Tien Yue, good morning and welcome back to The Breakfast Grille.
Hi, Shazana. Thanks for having me back.
Now, the history of Royal Selangor dates back to 1885, when your great-grandfather migrated to Kuala Lumpur from China and began making pewter wares. How do you make sense of the fact that the family business has become somewhat intertwined with national identity? Was that a conscious strategy or something that occurred by happenstance?
It started when my great-grandfather came in 1885. In that year, half the world's tin came from this small little Southeast Asian country, Malaya. And pewter is an alloy of tin, so it was natural that an abundance of tin we were making items in pewter for the home. It really happened, I think, by chance, because over time, my great-grandfather was making items first for the Chinese settlers, like altar pieces and tea sets. And then for the British expatriates, he made beer mugs and cigarette cases. And as Malaysia gained independence and started becoming a bit of a tourist destination, he and his family thought it was natural that they would make things which took inspiration from Malaysian culture, whether it's batik or wood carving. And so catering to those different customer segments over time, Royal Selangor built a portfolio of products which Malaysians could feel proud of, whether they kept it at home, collected at home, or gave it to their friends. So I think it happened quite organically that we took so much inspiration from Malaysian culture. But today we do it consciously. We're very proud of the fact that it's a 100% Malaysian team of designers and craftspeople, and that they are able to produce these beautiful items based on our own culture. And that culture is rich. It's Malaysian. Malaysia's a melting pot of cultures from rest of Asia. And so we're never short of design inspiration in a country like Malaysia. And we hope with that, this identity that we've created is something that Malaysians can be proud of.
So it's a very homegrown brand, a homegrown business, but no doubt helped by the fact that you do have royal recognition. The company's present name derives from the royal warrant that was received from the Sultan of Selangor in 1979. Can I ask, what does it mean to hold a royal warrant? And is this something that's bestowed in perpetuity, or do you have to renew it like a license? How does it work?
Well, we hope we have it in perpetuity. It was quite a nice story on why we got it, actually. It was the late Sultan of Selangor, and he was taking a holiday in Australia, and with his entourage of bodyguards, and one of the sales girls noticed this group and asked him, "So where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Selangor." And they said, "Oh, we know Selangor pewter." So even in the 70s, we'd already been exporting to Australia, and he was very tickled that his state was made famous by this pewter brand. So when he came back, he gave us a royal warrant, and with that we changed our name from Selangor Pewter. Really only in 1992 that we changed the brand to Royal Selangor. I think as long as we do the state proud, and we continue to design and make things of quality, I hope we would continue to have the royal warrant and be allowed to continue to use the word royal in our name.
Okay, so it's not something that you need to renew every year or petition to... Okay.
Fortunately not.
All right. So as understood, you're the purveyor of pewter crafts with intricate designs, both for practical and decorative use. And you also occupy the luxury niche. So you operate in the consumer retail space. And I've been trying to kind of group you together with other brands. I don't think I have an answer. What other brands would you compare yourself to, and who are the competitors that you benchmark yourself against, if at all?
Yeah, so I think one is that there isn't really a pewter industry, so there's no reason to look within the pewter market for benchmarks. We're generally in the home category. So if you imagine buying things for the home, whether it's made in crystal or silver or ceramic, ours happens to be made in pewter. And even though we continue this tradition of working with pewter that Yongkun started 139 years ago, you'll see that a lot of our items today are combined with glass or wood and other materials, and so it just gives them more functional capabilities when we combine materials like that. So I think people see us as a home decor brand. I wouldn't call it luxury. I think we've got items which people can walk in and they can pick up something small and start that relationship with the brand. But in terms of the attention to design and quality of craftsmanship, I think we would benchmark against luxury brands. We're very proud of the quality of craftsmanship that we have. So it's hard to pin benchmarks or comparisons. I think we just focus on our customers and how we meet our customers' needs, whether it's in drinkware, home decor, tabletop. And increasingly in recent years, we've started developing limited edition collectibles, indulging in some of their passions. Nostalgia is big. So some of these characters from the 80s and 90s, like your Star Wars movies or Marvel comics, we've created limited edition pieces based on those characters to sort of give our customers something special that they can collect that gives them joy from happy memories from their childhoods.
So in a way, Royal Selangor is in a class of its own, I guess. You're kind of operating in a space that you've made for yourself. I want to come back to the materials that you use. As you mentioned, Royal Selangor was born at a time when KL had a booming tin mining industry. That's no longer the case today. And I kind of argue that pewter as a material is somewhat unsexy at the moment. There are other alloys that are as durable and cheaper for craft making. So does it still make economic sense for pewter to be the mainstay of your product offerings, especially with the price of tin currently hovering around $33,000 per ton, I think?
Yeah, so there's definitely pressures on margins from raw materials. But we think we are very lucky to have this story of craftsmanship that goes back 139 years. And it sets us apart. I think that point of difference of continuing that legacy, we believe it's important to continue to work with that same material. But as I mentioned just now, working with that material combined with others gives us a bit more flexibility to do bigger pieces or things which are not constrained by the properties of this material. So we think that's the best of both worlds. The heritage and craftsmanship still using pewter, but combined with other materials. We've got our own woodworking facilities. We work with glass, ceramics. So I think that's the right formula for us to have clear brand positioning at the same time preserving this heritage and addressing some of these margin issues that come up from rising tin costs.
Right. So you're not restricted to pewter and tin, but it's definitely a core component of the products that you make.
Yes.
Where do you source your raw materials from?
And so we buy it off the market. Malaysia doesn't have a lot of tin mining these days, but we still smelt a lot of it. So it might come from different countries like Indonesia or Thailand, but smelted here in Malaysia. So we buy exclusively from MSC, Malaysian Smelting Corp. So there's no challenge getting raw material.
Okay.
But it's not just pewter that we work with. Within the group, we've also got a couple of other brands that we think complement. So we've got a silver brand called Comins and a jewelry brand called Selbrun, which we started over 50 years ago. So working with other metals and complementing the needs of our customers with these different materials.
Do you stockpile your materials, or how do you ensure continuous supply, especially with the prices going haywire?
We're able to buy some of our materials forward in simple forward contracts that just gives us a bit of certainty of price. But at some point we may have to pass on some of the cost increases through price increases. So like this year we had to do a 7% price increase. We didn't do one last year. We're very careful about having to pass on these costs. But I think our customers appreciate that amount of craftsmanship that goes into it. Even if material cost wasn't going up, we've got our full team of Malaysian craftspeople that will continue to have rising wages and which we need to support.
I want to delve into that, the production process. How much has it actually changed over 139 years of the company? You talk about craftsmen, so I presume that your products are still very much handcrafted, has there been more mechanization incorporated into the process?
Yeah, I think if you come to our visitor center, which is open to the public, you'll see craftspeople working with their hands on the lines. And a lot of people are surprised how much of it is still by hand. And some of it is conscious and is deliberate. We think that the beauty of pewter craftsmanship is something that we like to preserve, even if there are certain parts of it which could be mechanized. We're keeping like an art alive, and these craftsmanship skills alive. So we think that these are things that our customers appreciate. So we want to continue that. There are some processes where we find that produced on a bigger scale. For example, we make little coasters which are at 49 ringgit. I mean, that's an example of something that someone can walk in and pick up and begin that relationship with the brand.
At the accessible price
That's
point.
Right. So some of these things, of course, that's a bit more automated, less labor that goes into it. So we need to strike that balance between keeping the cost low enough to bring in that new generation of customers. But some of our customers love the fact that some items are very much handmade. It's going to be limited edition. It's going to be a very small run. They're one of the lucky few to get a piece. So I think there's different customer segments that we can cater to.
And there's only one factory that you have. It's that one factory in Selangor, nowhere else in the world. Nothing in China, for example.
No, so whether you walk into a store in London or in Hong Kong, the products are produced here in KL and then exported to those countries.
How do you source your craftsmen?
Yeah, so this is the toughest bit. This is the thing that I think would make it impossible for someone to start a pewter company today because we are training from scratch. So we hire people who may not have any pewter smithing and they generally do not have any pewter smithing experience. And we would put them through our training center. So they spend a few months going through the training center. Not everyone stays on. Obviously, some figure out that this may not be a career for them. But some do. And we're very grateful that the ones who do end up spending their lives with us. If you come to our visit center, you see a wall of hands of employees who've been there more than 5 years. And employees who've been there more than 40 years have their hands in gold. It's a gilded finish. And the wall is filled with these golden hands, employees who spent their entire careers with us.
So how big is your workforce at the moment then?
So we're about 500 people. It's a small operation. We will continue to hire each day. We're bringing more people. And continue to try to identify those who might want to spend their careers with us.
Well, what kind of salary can a craftsman get, I suppose, entering into this industry?
Yeah. So when they come in, I think they come in at the entry level because they come with no experience. And as they pick up skills, which each additional skill that they get salary adjustments. So we're really encouraging them to be multitask so that they're able to do more complex things. They're able to do different parts of the production process. So they come in right at the as a fresh hire with no experience, and so we really be starting at the bottom. But then we are investing all that time in training them and ensuring that they have the skills to be successful in their roles.
Do you have the pool of labor that's interested to get into this field? I suppose is that a problem, especially with the amount of digital opportunities out there that young people might be more interested in?
Yeah, so I think there are people who like the digital world. We people who come and join us in our graphics team and they work on computers. There's some people who still like working with their hands. We still hire sculptors to hand sculpt our masters and our figurines. And that increasingly, I see it across our jewelry workshop, our pewter workshop, that people do seem to take pride in what they can make with their hands. And they're proud of the fact that the things that they're making then get sent all over the world. So I think that pride in craftsmanship is something not to be underestimated.
Give your business the edge it needs with You Business Enterprise Solutions. Collaborate with us for unbeatable possibilities. Leverage on our 5G network and bespoke solutions to elevate your business in today's digital landscape. You Business Enterprise Solutions. 5G makes business sense.
Can you walk me through the main revenue segments that you have? How do you categorize your income streams?
So first, by market, about half the business comes from Malaysia. The other half then comes from countries where we generally operate our own marketing offices. So Singapore, China, UK, Australia, we have our own teams there dealing with retailers or running our stores there. So half the business is outside. We think that's a good mix. We think both are areas for growth moving forward. And in terms of customer segments, if we take Malaysia, for example, roughly 1/3 of our business comes from each of these three main segments. The local consumer, our corporate clients, and tourists. So a lot of visitors to Malaysia want to pick up something that was designed and made in Malaysia, and so Royal Selangor is a natural choice. And so that's why in this particular market, we have that additional segment. And we think that balance is also a good one. We think it's important that we do not be too dependent on the tourism market or too heavily exposed to it. Because of the volatility in those numbers and it's subject to shocks such as COVID or other issues. We also have online business, but it's small. It's about 4% of our business. So
even though you started online business very early on.
We started very early, and it's always been seen as sort of something that would help customers on their journey. So a lot of customers go to our website to research because it's a great catalog of all our products. And then once they've kind of narrowed it down, they very often want to pick up the physical pieces and hold it in their hands and make a decision. And so we see that helping them on that journey, but not necessarily where they transact, except for our regulars. They very clearly know what they want, and then they go online. So we think that's still a growth area. We will push online. We've just moved our loyalty program online as well. So our customers who walk into a store, whether it's here in KL or in London or online, they get the same privileges and they get to see the same points wherever they go. So we think that convenience factor is important. But for the higher ticket items, I think a lot of them still want to come in and have a look before they make that final decision.
Okay, fair enough. I think given what goes into that, right? So you're of course a private company, but based on your public financial records with the Companies Commission of Malaysia, the pandemic years of 2020 to 2022 were tough.
Very tough years for us.
Revenues fell 34% in 2020 to 41 million ringgit. That was also the year you recorded a loss after tax of 11.5 million ringgit. It wasn't until last year that you were back in the black, making 4.9 million ringgit in profit after tax. How did you claw yourself out of that financial hole?
Yeah, sure. So I think one is in terms of the numbers, there's a couple of entities which you need to put together in looking at the total numbers. COVID was a tough period because we were facing a situation where without revenues from the tourist segment, with lockdowns, we had the full cost of our overheads. So we still had the full production team, we had our staff in the stores, we had all the rentals. So we knew it was going to be a period where we would have to take the hit. And fortunately, what we were able to do is focus and really double down on the local market. So even without any tourists buying, we designed a lot more products that we thought catered to people at home enjoying themselves, whether it was a limited edition Marvel figurine or a phone amplifier for you to do your Zoom calls, but things that you could imagine using at home during all these lockdowns. So we got through that period in terms of change in products that we developed, and as we came out of it, we found that we could be very lean. So what we took the opportunity to do was close non-performing stores during COVID. And as we came out of the lockdown, we weren't saddled with these non-performing stores. We could focus on our top-performing stores, and we were able to serve our customers on those locations.
How many stores did you have to close down?
So we went from 20 locations in 2019.
Worldwide?
Just in Malaysia. I'm just talking about Malaysia, where I think the lockdowns were quite severe, to only 10 during the pandemic period. And now we're back to 20. We've kind of reopened as well as some additional locations which we think are where the brand should be. But very cautiously, I think what COVID has taught us is that we can be more focused. And with that focus, just be ensuring that we are where our customers shop and where the brand should be seen.
Did you have to lay off staff during the COVID pandemic?
We didn't lay off, but I think there were a lot of staff that were not confirmed. We could not during the lockdowns. We gave people some options to, a lot of ended up retiring early, I guess because they made some decisions on whether they want to spend more time at home. As a result, right now we're furiously in the process of recruiting to rebuild the teams.
Recruiting and retraining as well, I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
The last time you were on the show, that was some 12 years ago.
Wow,
you did mention that you were making initial forays into India.
Yes.
I'm wondering what the state of that is like and whether there are other markets that you're looking to break into.
Yeah, it was an interesting a market that we attempted then because it really required a whole new portfolio of products because the Indian market, a lot of our designs are catering to your lifestyle, right? So in the UK, they may buy our for example, our christening gifts. In Australia, our wine accessories. In China, was our tea items. So it catered to different lines. And in India, it turned out to be Hindu gods, which was something that was very big there. So it took a lot of work to develop products for that market. We found that the portfolio was quite a stretch away from the rest of our product portfolio. And so we didn't continue with that. I think right now we see that China, even though they're going through a bit of a slowdown, long term is the biggest fit in terms of product categories and portfolio fit. So we think that consumers in China not only are still drinking tea, of course, but they're also getting more sophisticated in drinking wine or other beverages. They like investing in nice home decor, contemporary home decor. So we think that's a market that we will really focus on despite current market conditions. So we'll be opening a store in Beijing in the next 2 months. It's a fairly large store, it's about 2,500 square feet, but chance for us to provide a bit more of a flagship experience. And we think that this is the market that we can continue to invest in for the long term.
Okay. I want to discuss about innovation. And I think you did mention that in the conversation earlier about how you're going into collectibles. What does innovation look like? Because on one hand, you still want to hang on to the tradition of pewter craftsmanship, but at the same time, you want to be able to provide the products that people will actually buy and use. How do you balance those two interests?
Yeah, so we definitely have customers who are very happy with our existing product portfolio. We've got this classic thing called a landmarks plate. It's just a scene of KL City Line. Customers are very happy with that.
That's your best-selling product.
I mean, it's one of our best-selling. We just updated it. We put in TRX and KL118 into it so that the skyline's updated. Some customers just want, that classic shape. And then we have customers who are always looking for something new, and they're looking for innovation and looking for us to surprise them. So we realized that the challenge is on us to manage that balance. And every year, when we launch 100 new designs, we need to make sure that that portfolio of new designs has a mix of something for our existing customers, which is familiar and comfortable, and things which are completely new, and maybe they ask us what were we thinking, but at least we push the envelope. So we've got to strike that balance. But I think it's important that we keep innovating, because that's what brings customers back to the brand. My friends who think they know us, they know what we do, I say keep coming back, because you'll be surprised by the new product categories you see in the store. So that newness is important to bring customers in to explore. And if they still walk out with the Malaysian landmarks plate, that's fine. It's okay. But there was a reason for them to come in.
How do you decide what IP to license? So as mentioned, you have collaborations with Disney and Warner Brothers. You produce collectibles for Marvel, Star Wars, and Harry Potter. What drives these decisions?
Yeah, part of it is personal passions. We like some of these things. We grew up with it. So, it's great fun to be working on projects that we can be passionate about and that our team can be passionate about. Secondly, these are the biggest IPs. If you look at characters in the IP world, that these are the big ones out there. And often the collaborations can happen by chance. So I'll take this month, right? So it's August. This month we just launched a collaboration with the art toy company Mart. So we did a pewter version of their Mega Space Molly. It's very cute. That happens by chance. It's a discussion. They say, let's do something interesting together. And it just happens. We did 2 weeks ago, we launched a Marvel bear brick, our first Marvel bear brick. So it's an Iron Man. Again, this conversation came out of chance years ago when we sat down with someone from the bear brick team to talk about how we could work together. So very often, it's not planned, but when we like what we see and we think it's something that has potential, then we'll continue to develop it. So I would love to say there's a science to it, and that it's all numbers driven, but it's very much about our own personal passions. It's what our customers seem to be asking for. And we're lucky we don't only just do design production, but we run our own retail stores, and which means we can listen to what customers are saying and what they indicate as their interest.
What's the typical runway from design conception to it actually coming out to market, given that you need to train your craftsmen to make the products as well,
It typically takes 12 months. And so, sometimes it's tough to catch a trend. But there's some things that you see coming a long way off, right? So next month we'll have a little bit late for it, but we've got a Deadpool and Wolverine figurine coming out. So the movie was huge. We have we've got a limited edition or a series of characters based on the Monkey King and the rest of the Journey to the West characters. And just so happens right now, the game, the Monkey King game is huge.
Right.
So sometimes timing is just great, but yeah, we've got to work 12 months ahead if we can.
Okay. And how much support does Royal Selangor get from the government, I suppose, in terms of promoting the brand abroad, given the strong connection to Malaysian identity?
I think we're grateful. The Malaysian governments have generally been, over the years, have been sort of proud of Royal Selangor, given it as gifts, to visiting dignitaries on their trips. So we appreciate that they like what we do. So there's support there, and I think it's not just the Malaysian government, but I think we are grateful that Malaysians generally are proud to give our items. I've got friends who give it to their business partners, and they end up choosing some of our pop culture stuff. They just want to give things that's fun and brings them closer to some of their friends.
Okay. In the little bit of time that we have, I do want to look ahead in what's next for Royal Selangor. You're 139 years old. You're a family business. Will it remain a family business? Do you have a fifth generation successor waiting in the wings?
Yeah, so, I'm fourth generation. It's my cousin Yunli and I who are in the business, so just two of us in this generation. We've got a couple of other cousins in board positions. We would love for the next generation to give it a chance. They're still quite young, and if they come, we've got a bit of a rule: you've got to go work somewhere else first before you come and apply for a job. But we think it'd be nice to continue that tradition of having some involvement. They may not need to be running the business, but I think to be involved in business would be a great thing. We'd be happy to see. But we're proud of the rest of the team. We didn't build this company to be run as a family business. We're very careful about the rules that we put in place so that the non-family members in the organization do not feel disadvantaged in any way. And we're proud of the team that we built. They're all young, combined with some who've been with us for many years of experience. And so we think, even if in the end, fifth generation decided not to for whatever reason, we've got a good team in place.
Okay, it's in good hands, essentially. Has Royal Selangor ever considered going for listing? Would you entertain a buyout, or are you very much keen on keeping it as is a Malaysian company moving forward?
I think we like the fact that we can take such a long view. The decisions we make on preserving the heritage of pewter craftsmanship. Some of these decisions are things that you can only do if you take such a long view and have such pride in what Yong Kun started. So I think we like to keep it, if possible, in the family and continue what Yong Kun's legacy was from 1885. We can work with partners, but we think in the end, long term, we'd like to have some control over where this business goes.
Okay. So according to the family charter, if I understand correctly, you're due to retire at 70. That's still a long way away, but you've already been in the company for 20 years.
Yes.
What would you say would be the biggest changes that you've brought to Royal Selangor in the past 2 decades? And what are you going to be looking to do moving forward? How would you want to see the brand grow?
Sure. At every generation of the business, we've had very entrepreneurial family members who really innovated with the material. I hope I've done my part to bring some new customers to the business, people from my generation, through some of these projects like the collaborations, which make people sort of sit up and notice what we're doing. And I'm sure the next generation that comes in will also find their own way to bring innovation to the business. I think this is still a business with a lot of potential to grow, not just in Malaysia, but in other markets. And it will continuously require that sense of innovation from any team members who join us. I'm just glad we still have the ability to do all these interesting projects. It keeps us fun for us. And I mean, you mentioned 20 years, but to me, it's like a blink of an eye. When we talk to some of our partners, I can't believe, every day that we're still enjoying having these conversations. Should we do this? Should we do that? And we're really able to do it because we do the whole value chain. We design, we produce, and we retail our products. And I think with that, I feel that we can continue to grow the business, take it in new directions. So I'm looking forward to the next, maybe not 20 years for me, but the next fun project that we can sink our teeth into.
I've been speaking to Chen Tien Yue, Executive Director of Royal Selangor. This has been The Breakfast Grille on BFM 89.9.